So over the last year, we've had hundreds of people ask us the same question. How do you actually move to El Salvador? Not just a vacation here for a week, not just visit Bitcoin Beach, but legally move here with your family, your kids, your retirement income, your pets, your vehicles, your entire life. And honestly, the rules just changed in a big way. El Salvador recently reduced the physical residency requirement for temporary residents from basically living here most of the year down to just 90 days per year. And that changes everything for retirees, snowbirds, digital nomads, diaspora families, and people who want a second home base. So today we're going to break down every major residency pathway, the new immigration changes, schools, driver's licenses, renting homes, and 4 real-world examples of families moving here. Because moving to El Salvador is honestly way more possible than most people think. Buenas tardes, mis amigos, y bendiciones para todos ustedes. Good afternoon, my friends, and blessings to you all. My name is Charity Hagenars, and bienvenido a mi canal if you're new here, y bienvenido de nuevo if we're already old amigos. Y si no hablas inglés, puedes activar el doble o los subtítulos en el idioma que prefieras. And if you enjoyed this content, please hit like and subscribe. It helps the algorithm get us out to more people. And I'll give you an update on our family at the end of this video. And before we get into the paperwork, let's talk about why people are suddenly interested in El Salvador. Because 5 years ago, nobody was making videos called "How do I move to El Salvador?" People were making videos called "How do I survive El Salvador?" Right? But things have changed fast. The safety situation has changed dramatically. Infrastructure is improving. It's not perfect. It's improving. Tourism is exploding. The beaches are incredible. The weather is warm year-round. The cost of living is still lower than North America. And for a lot of people, especially retirees, life here just feels simpler. And something else that's happening, a lot of Salvadorians who left years ago are now thinking about coming back. Some are retiring here and some want to raise their children here and be connected to the culture. And some are just tired of the stress and the cost of life in the US or Canada or Europe or wherever. And honestly, I understand it completely. So let's talk about the big immigration update first, because this is the headline change. Previously, temporary residents were expected to spend most of the year physically here in El Salvador. They used to only be able to be away from El Salvador for 120 days, no more than 90 days at a time. When my husband went back to Canada last year, he could only stay the 90 days at a time. He could have come back to El Salvador and then back to Canada, but we didn't do it that way because we had a limit, and you know, it's costly to fly out, and we had business to do with our property there. So, you know, we were limited to that 90 days. And this year, my husband flew to the Netherlands because his dad was dying of cancer, and we didn't know how long he was going to be gone. And fortunately, this law just changed like a week after he left. So it was perfect timing. So that old system was really restrictive, but under the new reforms, temporary residents now only need to spend 90 calendar days per year here in El Salvador to maintain their residency status. Now, those 90 days can be consecutive or cumulative. So instead of living here basically full time, you could potentially spend winters here or summers here or holidays. You know, you come for a month at Christmas time, you come for a month in Semana Santa, you come for a month during the August holidays. You could just spend your 90 days throughout the year here. You could live in your home country and just split your time between the two countries. You could travel for work, or you could slowly transition into living here permanently. And honestly, this is a huge deal because now El Salvador becomes way more attractive for retirees, remote workers, investors, digital nomads, and diaspora families, testing the waters before fully relocating. Now, a quick disclaimer, I am not an immigration lawyer. I just play one on YouTube. No, just kidding. Immigration rules change. Different lawyers tell people different things. Sometimes the government website says one thing and you go into the government office and they tell you something else. This happens all the time, unfortunately. So always verify everything with immigration professionals before making life decisions. You've been warned. This video should give you a very realistic overview. Now, here is a breakdown of all the temporary visas currently available on the government website. Starting with the F1 visa. Now, they're all numbered. They have an F at the beginning. We'll just call them number 1 from now on in, but it's called F1, Residencia Transitoria. That's for people temporarily assigned to El Salvador for a specific short-term purpose. Number 2, Residencia Temporal Transnacional. This is for service workers and other general temporary residents. Number 3, Residencia Temporal con Autorización de Trabajar. So this is foreign employees hired to work in El Salvador, maybe at a call center or something to do with Google or whatnot. Number 4, this is the inversionista. That's investors placing capital into businesses or projects in El Salvador. Number 5 is for negocios. This is for business people frequently conducting business activities in El Salvador. I think about all those big Chinese stores. Maybe they're using this type of visa. Number 6 is representante comercial. This is for commercial representatives, regional managers, company representatives. This is what we did for ours because we created a company here and we are the representatives of that company. Number 7, this is pensionados. This is retirees receiving a pension income from a foreign country. Number 8, rentista. This is for people living from passive income, investments, rentals, like a rental property you have in your home country, dividends, online income, etc. Number 9 is the Residencia Temporal para Acompañar. This is for spouses and dependent family members accompanying the primary resident, like we did for our children. Number 10, Residencia Temporal Estudios. This is for university students or technical students and specialized training students. Number 11, Residencia Temporal Accionista. This is foreign stakeholders in Salvadoran companies. Number 12, Residencia Temporal Comerciantes Individuales. This is for self-employed business owners and sole proprietors. Number 13 is Residencia Temporal Cooperantes. This is NGO workers, charity workers, foundation personnel, international cooperation staff, that kind of thing. Number 14 is Víctimas de Trata. This is victims of human trafficking. Number 15 is Residencia Temporal por Razones Humanitarias. This is humanitarian protection, special humanitarian cases, protected persons. Number 16, Residencia Temporal Religiosos. This is for priests or pastors, missionaries, nuns, other religious workers coming to El Salvador. Now, the remaining categories are just the renewals or the prorrogas of the original temporary residency categories. So number 17 renews number 2, for example. Number 18 renews number 3. Number 19 renews number 4. Number 20 renews number 5. Number 21 renews number 6, which is what we just did when we reapplied for a renewal. Number 22 is a renewal for number 7. Number 23 renews number 8, the Rentista one. Number 24 renews number 9, which is the one we needed to do for our children when we did our renewal. Number 25 renews number 10. Number 26 renews number 11. Number 27 renews number 12. Number 28 renews number 13. Number 29 renews number 14. Number 30 renews number 15, and number 31 renews number 16. You got my picture here? You get my drift here? So you have an initial one, and then you have the renewal. So it's the same thing, just one is the primero and one is the renewal. But for most people, these are the ones that are going to matter most. We have the F4 investor, people opening up businesses or investing significant capital. Number 6 is the representante comercial, for people like us who are starting a corporation here. Number 7 is the pensionado. That's for your retirees, Canadian or American retirees living on a pension. Number 8 is the rentista, or passive income. Think remote workers, digital nomads, YouTubers, online entrepreneurs, investors like someone renting their home in their home country or living off interest from investments. Number 9 is the family accompaniment. That's for the spouses and children coming with the primary applicant. And number 10 would be students, like a family sending their children to university or technical programs in El Salvador. Number 12 is the Residencia Temporal Comerciantes Individuales. This is for people who want to be entrepreneurs, like my friend who is a swimming instructor. So those are the most common ones that people would normally pick when coming to El Salvador. All right, let's start with probably the most popular option for foreigners moving to El Salvador. That is the Pensionado visa, officially known as F07. This is basically the retirement residency pathway. So to qualify, you generally need proof of stable pension or retirement income, and the requirement is currently 3 times the Salvadorian minimum wage, which works out to roughly $1,100 to $1,250 USD per month, depending on wage adjustments for a minimum wage here. So that income could come from, for example, Social Security, government pensions, military pensions, company pensions, guaranteed retirement income, certain retirement funds. You'll also typically need a valid passport, of course, an apostilled criminal background check, apostilled marriage certificate, if applicable, apostilled birth certificates for dependent children, proof of pension income, and I've seen this listed in a few places, but I've not actually seen it in person where they talk about getting medical testing. I don't know if that's really a thing here. I've just seen it on some references, and I'm not really sure because I don't know anyone who's ever done that. And let me say this right now. If you're thinking about moving to El Salvador, get your documents apostilled before you come here. And remember, most of the documents are only considered valid for about 90 days. Seriously, don't show up with a giant folder of paperwork thinking, I'll just get everything apostilled later. Because that's where a lot of people get stuck and they have to go back to their home country to fix that problem. Ask me how I know this. Not us, other people, always other people, not us. We didn't do that. F8 is the Rentista visa. Now, if you're not retired, that is probably the category that applies to you. The Rentista visa officially is the F8. It is for people who have stable reoccurring income but aren't receiving a traditional pension. Think about remote workers, YouTubers, online business owners, digital nomads, people living off rental income from their home countries, maybe some dividend investors, people living off interest income, or people with reoccurring passive income, however that comes. The income requirement is generally around 4 times the Salvadorian minimum wage, which works out to roughly $1,500 USD per month. And honestly, this is probably the category that fits a lot of modern expats, because the reality is that more people than ever are making their living online. And this is where El Salvador gets really interesting, because you could be sitting on the beach in your little town watching the sunset over the Pacific Ocean while your income is coming in from Canada, the United States, Europe, or anywhere else in the world. That's pretty attractive, right? Now let's talk about the investor residency, officially F4. This category is designed for people who are bringing significant investment into El Salvador. I'm even thinking maybe other countries like China who help build things here, like our library. But think of opening businesses, investing in existing companies, some tourism projects, commercial developments, like a stadium perhaps, large-scale investments. This isn't usually the route for somebody opening up a tiny side business. This is more for people making a substantial investment in the Salvadorian economy. The required investment amount can vary depending on the structure of the investment and the type of project being undertaken. There's also the famous Freedom Visa program that gets talked about all over social media, but that program is aimed for the ultra high net worth individuals investing very large amounts of money in the economy here. That's probably not most of us, right? We're just middle class coming from our home countries and finding this is a little bit cheaper to live here. Now, this is actually the category that applied to us. It's the F6 Residencia Temporal Representante Comercial. This category is designed for people who want to create or represent a Salvadoran corporation. So if you are opening a corporation here, becoming the legal representative and running a business through that company structure, this may be the category that applies to you. Think business owners, corporate directors, company representatives, entrepreneurs operating through a corporation. In our case, we formed a Salvadorian corporation and became the legal representatives of that company. So if you're planning on starting a corporation rather than operating as an individual entrepreneur, this is the one you'll want to look into. Now let's talk about a category that I think is going to become more popular as more foreigners move here. That is the F12 Residencia Temporal Comerciantes Individuales. This is basically the entrepreneur residency for people who are operating as individuals rather than through a corporation. A great example is a friend of ours who is a swimming instructor. She didn't create a corporation. She didn't build a company structure. She's simply operating her own business directly as an individual. Think of a small business proprietorship like in Canada. But other examples might include fitness trainers, language teachers, music instructors, we could use a lot of them around here, tour guides, consultants, freelancers, photographers, coaches. There's just so many opportunities. So if you are moving here with the goal of running your own small business without creating a corporation, then this is the one you're going to want to get. That's the F12. You'll definitely want to investigate that. It's really a good one to have. Now, here's some good news. If you're moving with a spouse or children, F9 is the Family Accompaniment Residency. This category allows spouses, minor children, and dependents to accompany the primary. So if dad qualifies under Pensionado, mom and the kids may qualify under the F9 category. Or if mom qualifies under Rentista, then dad and the children may qualify under the F9. So this is one of the most common categories you'll see because most people aren't moving here alone. And finally, we have the F10, the student residency. This category is for people coming to El Salvador specifically for education. Think university students, technical school students, and specialized training programs, or an academic exchange program. Now, most foreign families watching this video won't use F10 for their younger children. Kids attending elementary school or high school are usually covered under the family's residency application. But if you have a son or daughter coming to attend university here and they're over 18 years old and they can't apply under yours as a family dependent, then this one is for them, the F10. And honestly, for most viewers watching this video, the categories you'll probably care about are F7, F8, F9, F6, and F12. Those 5 categories alone probably cover 95% of the people looking to move to El Salvador. All right, now let's make this real. Example number 1, a retired Canadian couple, let's say they're both 67 years old. They have their Canadian pensions, their CPP, and their old age security. And maybe they have some investments and they might want to escape the Canadian winters. I mean, who wouldn't really? Here's how this might work. They enter El Salvador as tourists first. They spend a few months checking out areas. El Chunco, maybe if they like the beach, Costa del Sol, San Benito or San Elena if they want to be a little further away from the beach, or maybe up in the mountains, Talnique, Damanique, Chaltenango, I mean, just name a place, right? Then they hire an immigration lawyer. And honestly, most foreigners moving here eventually use a lawyer because the paperwork can be very confusing. They apply under Pensionado residency using their pension income. They rent a furnished home or an Airbnb first instead of buying immediately, and I really recommend that. I really recommend it. Do not buy property in a country you barely know. Rent first, learn the areas, learn the culture, learn the rainy season, and especially learn the traffic patterns. That's muy importante. It's very, very important. And because of the new 90-day rule, they no longer need to spend almost an entire year here to keep the residency. That's huge for retirees. Remember, their apostille paperwork is only good for 90 days, so they would need their criminal background checks from the RCMP, in this case from Canada, proof of income, driver's license if they want to keep driving, and they all have to be apostilled, and again, only not for 90 days. So they're not going to like hang around the country, do a bunch of stuff. First, they need to come with some intention, check it out for a month, and then boom, get into their paperwork season, basically. Now, if only one of them is applying for the Pensionado visa, then they would need their marriage certificate apostilled as well, and they would use the F9 visa for the spouse that is not getting a pension. Now, let's say we have an American family with 3 children. Dad works remotely, mom runs an online business, maybe she's got an Etsy shop or something like that going on. Kids are ages 8, 11, and 14. This family would probably fit under Rentista residency. And this is where moving gets way more complicated, because once kids are involved, everything changes. Ask any parent, really, that applies to anyone. So let's talk about schools, because this is a hot topic here. Most foreign families here end up using private bilingual schools, and there are actually some really, really good schools in El Salvador. But enrollment requirements usually include, okay, passports, vaccination records, apostille birth certificates, apostille report cards, and they will need to be translated and notarized here in this country. You cannot do that outside of El Salvador. It had to be done here. And one thing I've noticed here is that schools can be surprisingly flexible compared to North America, but they can also suddenly ask for random paperwork you've never heard of, like apostilles. I never heard of that until I actually was planning on coming here. I didn't know this was a thing. So patience becomes very important. And if your children don't speak Spanish yet, there can definitely be an adjustment period. But honestly, kids adapt way faster than us adults, right? I think my kids are doing pretty good. So this family rents inside a gated community. Why? Why are they doing that? Because most foreigners moving here initially, at least before they, acclimatize to the whole country, they want security, they want pretty steady water supply, stable electricity, decent internet, and proximity to schools. And the internet here is honestly way better than people expect now, especially compared to what people imagine El Salvador is like. Our internet's really good. So mom and dad would apply for a Rentista visa, needing their proof of income, their apostilled FBI criminal background checks, apostilled driver's license, apostilled report cards, and birth certificates for the children. And they would apply for the F9 family accompaniment visa for the children. Now, note, if mom is not working, or dad, let's not be sexist here, then the non-working spouse would also need the F9 visa, and they would not be able to work here. They would also then need the marriage certificate apostilled, because you need to show that you are tied to the person who you're financially supporting. And when we did our renewal for the kids, I probably this was not the beginning, but I didn't see or understand all the paperwork we did in the initial, because a lawyer did that for us. But we did the renewal on our own, and we had to do an affidavit per child to say that we would financially support them. So I imagine you would do something similar to say you're going to support your spouse who's not working here. Okay, now this is where things are going to get emotional. Let's imagine a retired couple where the husband was born in El Salvador and the wife is American. Honestly, we've met quite a few couples just like this in this exact situation. He left El Salvador decades ago, maybe during the Civil War, could be during the gang time if he's young, but he built his life in the United States. He worked hard, he raised a family. Now he's looking at retirement and thinking, maybe it's time to come home. Now, meanwhile, his American wife may have visited El Salvador over the years, but she's never actually lived here full time. So in a lot of ways, they're both starting a brand new adventure together. And honestly, this pathway can be emotionally easier, but culturally harder than people expect. Because yes, the Salvadoran spouse knows the culture, knows the food, speaks the language, and probably still has some family here. But El Salvador today is not the same El Salvador that he had left behind. A lot has changed. The roads have changed. The cities have changed. Technology has changed. The safety situation has changed significantly. And sometimes they experience what people call reverse culture shock. Things feel similar, but at the same time completely different. And for the American spouse, there's a completely different adjustment happening over here. Completely different. They may be learning a new culture, a different way of life, different pace of life, different way of doing things, or different way of doing business, and maybe even some Spanish if they don't already speak it. Now, here's where being part of the Salvadorian diaspora can provide some significant advantages. The Salvadorian spouse can usually visit a Salvadorian consulate in his home country, like the United States or whatever, before moving and obtain important documents such as a certified birth certificate, if he doesn't have one right now from El Salvador, or his DUI, or any other Salvadorian identification documents. And he can also register his marriage with the El Salvador consulate, and if applicable, any of the children. That can make the transition much smoother than it is typically for a foreigner moving here for the first time. The American spouse will still need to complete the immigration process, which usually would mean obtaining an FBI criminal background check and having an apostille before coming to El Salvador. Depending on how they apply, there are a couple of possible paths. If the American spouse applies for residency independently, perhaps through the Pensionado visa or Rentista visa, then she would need to qualify on her own and provide proof of pension income or retirement income, remote work income, or other qualifying income. But if she applies as a dependent family member based on her husband's residency or Salvadoran citizenship, the process may be simpler. However, there's one important thing to understand. If she enters under a dependent family residency category, she generally would not have authorization to work in El Salvador. So if she plans to continue working or running a business or earning active income while living here, she may want to explore an independent residency category instead. And financially, this can be a very attractive option. A U.S. retirement income, Social Security, pensions, or investment income can often stretch much further here than it would in many parts of the United States. And for many couples, it becomes the best of both worlds. The Salvadorian spouse gets to reconnect with family and his roots, while the American spouse gets to experience a completely different lifestyle during retirement. And unlike our first example, this couple isn't just moving to a new country. For one of them, they're coming home. Now imagine a second generation Salvadorian American family. Maybe mom or dad was born here in El Salvador, but the children were born in the United States. And honestly, this is becoming more common every year. These families often tell us they're looking for grandparents nearby, bilingual children, a stronger family culture, lower cost of living, more family time, less stress. And in some cases, they actually feel safer here and now than where they are currently living. And that sentence still kind of blows my mind, because historically, people fled El Salvador for safety. And now some families are literally moving back for safety. It's unbelievable, right? That's an unbelievable historical shift. Now, from an immigration standpoint, these families have some unique advantages, but they also need to do some planning before they arrive. If one of the parents is Salvadorian, one of the first things I would recommend is contacting the nearest Salvadorian consulate before moving. The Salvadorian parent should make sure they have their Salvadoran birth certificate, their DUI, any other Salvadoran identification documents, their marriage properly registered if it isn't already, and perhaps most importantly, they should look into registering their children, their American-born children, in the El Salvadorian consulate so that they can have an easy road for the kids to get here. Many foreign-born children of Salvadoran parents are eligible for Salvadorian citizenship through their parents. Like, I don't know, I never heard of anyone not getting that. So that means your children could potentially have dual citizenship and hold both a US passport and a Salvadorian citizenship or a Salvadoran passport. And trust me, that can make life here much easier. Instead of being treated as foreign children entering the country, they may be recognized as Salvadorian citizens, right off the bat. Now, every family situation is different, so you'll want to confirm the requirements with the Salvadorian consulate, but this is definitely something worth investigating before you move, before you get on the plane and get over here. For the foreign-born children, you'll want to bring their long-form birth certificates, apostilled, before you go, your passports, apostilled school records, vaccination records, if you have any custody documentation, if that's applicable in your situation, and bring all that stuff before you come. Remember, just like the adult documents we talked about earlier, apostilles have a limited useful life, so don't get them years in advance. It's just 90 days. Now, let's talk about school, because that's usually the biggest concern for parents. When enrolling children in school, you typically need, again, the birth certificates, passports for the children, apostilled report cards. Some schools ask for vaccination records, sometimes and translated documents depending on the school you're coming from. And if your children don't speak Spanish yet, don't panic. It's not the end of the world. Kids adapt incredibly fast. In fact, in many cases, the children learn Spanish faster than the parents, right? Their minds just soak it up like a sponge. And before long, they'll be correcting your Spanish. Now, if one parent is Salvadorian and the other parent is American, Canadian, or from another country somewhere else, the foreign spouse will still need to obtain their residency on their own. They may qualify through marriage to a Salvadoran citizen, family reunification, Pensionado residency, Rentista residency, or another category depending on their circumstances. Maybe they want to be an entrepreneur here and run some business. But overall, this example is often one of the smoother transitions because the family already has a built-in support network. They often have the grandparents nearby, the aunties and uncles nearby, and cousins. Everyone's just so, handy to them now that they're in the country. They have the local knowledge, they have cultural familiarity, family members who can help you navigate the schools or the housing or the healthcare or the government offices, and honestly, that's a huge advantage, really, to have a local to help you with these things. That for us, it's really helped. Because moving to a new country is hard. Moving to a new country where you already have family waiting for you is a completely different experience. And for many diaspora families, that's exactly what they're looking for. Not just a new place to live, but a chance to reconnect their children with their language, their culture, their family, and their roots. It's so important. Let's talk about renting, because this surprises a lot of foreigners. There's no MLS system here like in Canada or the United States. That's a multiple listing service for rentals or for when you want to buy a property. A lot of rentals are on Facebook Marketplace or in WhatsApp groups or local contacts or word of mouth. You just drive around and you see a random handwritten sign on a house, or on a pole, or they take a picture of the handwritten sign that's attached to the telephone pole and they put that up on Facebook. I mean, I think I've seen it all. It's not a sophisticated system. We'll just say some of the pictures, I'm like, what are you selling me? The floor? You have taken a picture of the floor and nothing else, and you want $600 month for this? Yeah, needs some work. Honestly, sometimes the best rentals never even get publicly listed. A friend of ours is moving out and another couple is moving in. I'm like, oh, we could get them into that house, right? They're moving out to go closer to the guy's work, I guess. And now this house is going to be available and another couple was moving in. I'm like, wow, perfect. Never get listed at all. So word of mouth is handy as well. Now, landlords usually want your passport. They require a deposit here, which I was told it's really hard to get the deposit back, but our first house, we did get it back. But you may have to fight for a little bit because I think they're used to people trashing the houses, so they never get the deposit back. So that's something to keep in mind. You may just have to give that one up. They want the first month's rent as well when you go to give your deposit, and proof of income, right? Sometimes they want local references as well. So for your income, same way you need it for your residency. If you're coming in here with like a pension, then you need to bring that to show them that you're, getting a monthly income. And unfortunately, foreigners often pay higher prices, especially in beach towns. It's just a thing. It's the gringo thing. So if you're new here, expect to overpay a little at first. That's just reality. Like I said, they call it the gringo tax here. But once you get more involved and you know more locals, you'll be able to get better deals. So this is where having a network of people with boots on the ground really helps to move here smoothly. Because let's be honest, the residency process is only one piece of the puzzle. You still need to figure out which area is right for your family, which schools are best fit for your kids, where to find rentals, how to set up utilities, how to get your driver's license, which immigration lawyers people actually recommend, and all of the things that nobody tells you until after you arrive. And that's exactly why we've created our WhatsApp community. It's a group filled with people, about 200 people now, who are either already living in El Salvador, actively moving here, or seriously researching whether El Salvador is right for them. So instead of trying to figure out everything by yourself, you can learn from people who have already gone through the process. And it's free. There's no cost to join. And we also have a Monday night call that we host every Monday night, 7 o'clock El Salvador time, where anyone can ask questions or share experiences and connect with other families who are on the exact same journey as you right now. Whether you're thinking about retiring here, moving here with kids, starting a business, or just trying to understand the residency process, having access to people who are actually living it can save you a lot of time, money, and frustration, because there's a lot of bureaucracy. So if you'd like to join us, I'll put the information for a Monday night call in the description below. And if you'd like to join our WhatsApp group, send me your WhatsApp number to youtube@haganars.com. Now let's talk about driver's licenses. Tourists can drive temporarily using their foreign license for up to 90 days. Now they also say you should carry your passport with you so they know when you enter the country, so they could check if you're 90 days over or not. But eventually, if you want to become a resident, you'll probably want a Salvadoran driver's license. And this process can feel extremely chaotic at first, we'll say. You will need your apostilled driver's license that you get from your home country. So don't leave home without it. Maybe your residency card or passport, depending on how far you're in the process. You'll need to get a blood test for your blood type. This is mandatory, and you can't just say, well, I'm O negative. They don't believe you. You need to have a doctor write it on paper to go get your driver's license with. They will do a vision exam when you're in the Sortrasan office, and of course you'll need money to pay for it. And this is one of those moments where your expectations matter. If you expect everything to operate like Canada or the US, you'll probably get a little frustrated. It's just a little different. It can be quick. You can leave there with your driver's license, where Canada, they always mail it to you, so that's nice. You can leave the office with the driver's license in hand. So in some ways things are better, and some things are frustrating. Like, why do I need to go to a doctor, why do I need to go to a lab and get my blood work done? Like, that just seems silly, right? I can just tell them my blood type. No, it has to be with the doctor's specific paper they give them. Anyway, but once you understand how things work here, it becomes manageable. And now, let's talk honestly, because I don't want this video to sounding like move to paradise and everything is perfect, because it's not. It isn't. There are real challenges living here. Bureaucracy can be frustrating. Paperwork can take a lifetime, forever, really. Rules can change depending on who you talk to, or if it's from the website or the people in the office, they can give you different things. Customer service here is different. I guess you have to imagine that 5 years ago, this country was not a country built on trust. And the first time I had to take something back to Walmart, it was a fan that broke, and it was under warranty, because when you get the fan, they stamp the back of the receipt, and I don't know, I think it was just a 30 or 90-day warranty. It was, the 90-day warranty or whatever it was. It was stamped. I brought the receipt. The fan was no longer oscillating. It took an hour. And the guy tested the fan over and over and over again. I'm like, it's broken. Like, you don't believe me then, okay? Just don't believe me. The things can be really frustrating here. Like, customer service is not really a thing here. Yeah, it's just different. It really is different. But the country comes from a different place than Canada and the United States. You got to remember the history here. Banking can be a little bit difficult. Like there is a guard at the door of the bank that we go to, and there are probably, I don't know, 50 chairs inside, but there's always a lineup. Like I don't really understand why so much banking has to be done in person, but there's a lineup, and never go on the 15th or 30th because that's payday because you'll never get in. But the lineup goes down usually the side of the bank, and then when you get to the door, you have to tell the security guard why you're there. I don't know if they ever deny you if they don't think you're there for a valid reason, but then you go in. And then there's a machine you can put your residency card in. Actually, I don't think the residency card works well, but your DUI would work fine. And it gives you a number because you have to select what you're there for. You know, I want to open a new account. I need to deposit money. I need to change my address, whatever it is, right? You put the thing in and it spits out a number and it's a number and a letter. And then you wait in one of those chairs for an eternity until your number gets put up on the board. And then you get to a teller and you talk to people. And there's probably, I'd say 14 tellers in this bank. And they do different things. So some are just for the money part and some are for the, open the new bank account part, right? But I don't understand why so many people need to be there in person, because in Canada, you go to in our small town, you go to the bank, there's like nobody there. Like there might be 2 people ahead of you, not like 50 people ahead of you. And it just takes longer. So it's just different, right? It can be difficult to navigate these situations if you have these expectations in your mind when you come to El Salvador. Now, language barriers are real. I mean, you can use translators like Google Translate, but it's the idioms and the colloquial phrases we'll say that, I don't know, like my husband has this phrase that I guess his mom and dad would use or whatever. And I hope I get it right because it's a Dutch phrase, but I'm going to say what it translates to in English. And the phrase is, little jars have big ears, meaning that when you're talking as adults around children, you gotta be careful because they are listening, right? And if I were to have a phrase like that in Spanish, little jars have big ears, and I translate like, what? I don't understand it because it's a colloquial phrase, like it's in that setting, it's in that culture, it's in that language of the town or wherever it comes from, right? And it doesn't mean anything when you translate it directly. So, the more types of phrases that they're in that conversation that are like that, it becomes a real challenge sometimes to understand stuff. Like I would do the translator at this kid's school, and I'm like, I'm sure that is not what they're saying because that makes no sense at all. I get a general idea what they're talking about, but not really a word for word translation. It just doesn't make any sense. Now maybe something like ChatGPT would work better because it would not just translate the words but interpret things. So there may be some AI helpers out there, but I kind of relied on Google Translate for the most part. But learning the language is the key feature in moving to a new country. I'll say it is a must. It is a necessity to do that. You need to be committed to learning the language. And some systems here, they're just still developing. It's just not quite there yet. I feel like my friend Hannah and I are talking about this today. I think we're like 20 to 30 years kind of behind what we would say is like Canada or United States or the Western world in many things. So maybe the banking is a good example. Maybe 20, 30 years ago, people did more banking in person in Canada. Now people do more online banking, or they go to the ATM and do their things, or they use telephone banking. We do have apps here. I do a lot of my banking on the app, but there's only so much I need to go to the bank every now and again. But other people seem to go to the bank for everything. So maybe it's just that, right? People just need to adapt to this new technology and things. It's going to take time. It's just, you got to be patient. Honestly, some foreigners move here romanticizing the country, and then they leave disappointed because they expected North America with palm trees. It's not North America palm trees, okay? Don't put that in your mind. That isn't what it is. El Salvador is still El Salvador. And honestly, that's part of what makes it special. El Salvador is a very Christian country with morals and values that are totally disappearing in the Western countries. We fled Canada because of that. And we came here to El Salvador for that very reason, among others. But we're not trying to bring Canada to El Salvador because we don't like what Canada has become. And that is the sentiment of many of the people who are moving here, especially those with young children like ours. So can you move to El Salvador in 2026? Honestly, for a lot of people, yes, definitely yes. And now with the new 90-day residency rule, it's becoming dramatically more flexible than before. But moving countries is still a massive life decision. You need patience. I can't even stress that enough. Patience, flexibility, realistic expectations, and honestly, a sense of adventure. And one of the craziest things about all of this, El Salvador is no longer just a country that people are escaping from. For many families now, it's becoming a country that people are actively returning towards. They're running to it. And if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to hit subscribe. We've got a lot more El Salvador content coming soon. And I even have a second channel called Making It in El Salvador that shows you more of our daily life struggles while living in paradise. Check it out. And if you've ever thought about moving here, let us know in the comments below. What is the biggest thing holding you back? Now, if you stayed to the end, I want to give you a little update on what's been happening in our family. We celebrated Willem's birthday over the last week or so. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Willem. Happy birthday to you.
17 now.
17 today. Cumpleaños feliz. Cumpleaños feliz. Cumpleaños feliz.
One more year, and then your childhood ends, and then starts adult life.
Ah, queremos. Ya
Oh, it's relocate.
pero queremos
And Maria was making pupusas for us the other day. That was really cool. I got to learn a little bit how to make pupusas. She kind of did a lot of it when I was working, so I only seen her actually putting them together and then frying them. Video. Yeah. And my husband is returning on Saturday. When this video goes out, he will already be at the airport. I'll be picking him up. I'm so looking forward to having him back. But that 90-day rule has really helped because I didn't know how long he was going to be gone. And if, you know, he actually was there almost 90 days. We had no idea how long his dad was going to hang on or if he was going to be able to come here with him. We had no idea when he arrived in the Netherlands what was happening with his dad. So it's so great to have that rule change just right when he left because we weren't stressed out about, oh no, you gotta book your ticket by this time. And what if his dad was, you know, basically on his last legs at the time he was supposed to fly out. That was really stressful. So happy that the El Salvadorian government has changed that. And yeah, he can now go off to Canada and deal with our property there again without having to worry about, oh no, he's gone too much of the year out of the country because he's already been here 90 days. Our residency renewed in October. So he'd already managed to keep the 90 days already. He could be gone right now until the next October. So this is great. This rule has really helped us out a lot. And if you'd like to help us or support Maria, I'll leave my Blink wallet address in the description. And here's the QR code if you'd like to help us out. We're gonna get some bunk beds because we only have 2 beds in there. We want to get 3 beds in there so Maria has her own bed and doesn't have her grandson sleeping with her. See you in the next one.
Don't forget to hit the like button.